Okay, so welcome to the video. Now, today what we're going to be showing you is exactly how to back up your WordPress website, how to do it automatically so you haven't even got to think about it, so you can relax, sleep at night knowing that your website is safe being backed up and you've got your own copies of it. We're also going to show you step by step how to restore those backups if the worst comes to the worst and you need to use them. Chances are you probably won't, but if you do, at least you've got a backup and you know exactly what to do with it. So, just quickly, if you don't know who I am, my name's Dan Davis. I'm a web developer. That's my business. I also coach people how to, become masters at WordPress. And if you find this video useful, that's all I ask is that you give it a like, help push it out to more people, share it with anybody you think might benefit from it. And obviously, if you want to subscribe, if you don't, no worries, just watch the video and hopefully it helps you along your way. So let's get started. So how to back up your WordPress website. So why backups matter, this is what we're going to cover today. Introducing UpdraftPlus, that's my plugin of choice. I'll show you how to set that up. Step-by-step setup installation and how to restore your website with UpdraftPlus. And then just finally, we'll talk about best practices for backups and common mistakes to avoid. Just on that, one thing I want to talk about is, you will probably have backups with your hosting, okay? And that's fine, that's great. I want to tell you why that's not the only backup you should rely on. So I'll give you an example. I had a customer come to me and they had a nightmare with backups. Their website actually got hacked and they asked me, can you help me restore the website? And when the first thing I asked them is, have you got backups? And they were like, well, no, I haven't got any backups, but my hosting has. And their hosting had backups which were configured for 7 days. Unfortunately, they'd been hacked about 8 or 9 days ago. So the website, all the backups that the hosting had were compromised versions of his website. So we didn't have a clean version of his backup. So that meant we had to do a lot of work. So 7 days is great. Check with your hosting what they do back up for you. The reason why I suggest we go down this route is because your hosting's backups are normally quite expensive. And because they're expensive, you probably limit them to something like 7 days. Now, if that is the case, this is a great solution for you to be able to, store 14, 21, 28 backups, days of backups, just so that if the worst comes to the worst, you've got your own versions ready to go. So why backups matter? So one, protect against cyber attacks. So hackers and malware can compromise your site. A reliable backup ensures you can recover quickly. This is going to happen, in today's day and age. WordPress is an amazing platform, but you have to realize that it is the most targeted platform. And if you're not doing security right, which is something else we can talk about, then there's a possibility that your plugins might be vulnerable, out of date, and could lead to you being compromised. Once they get in through one plugin, then that leads to all sorts of mess. So having a backup that you can quickly restore to is really important. So hosting backups have limitations. So many hosting providers retain backups for only a few days, and they may not be as accessible as you'd like. And I think this is true because when you get backups with your hosting, and I'm not saying all hosts, because obviously some hosts let you log into the dashboard, see the backup, click restore, and that's great. But a lot of hosts will require that you contact them to do it. So let's say your website's gone down for whatever reason, you need to restore a backup, you've got to submit a ticket, you're waiting for them to get back to you. Just that process of waiting can be eliminated by having your own backups and knowing what to do with the backups to get your website up and running as quickly as possible. Plus the issue of obviously how many backups are they storing? Are they only giving you incremental backups? All of these sort of things that you need to consider. And I think when you take all of that into account, having hosting backups is really important, but having your own is even more important, to run alongside it. So corrupt backups. So if backups fail or become corrupted, having additional backups ensure you don't lose everything. So this goes for your hosting's backup or your own backups, because let's say you've got one backup a week running at the moment and that one's corrupt. You might have to go back 2 weeks if you've got that. Now, that's a lot of data potentially lost if you've got regular blog posts, if you've got an e-commerce store where, you've got lots of customers and orders being added to the database regularly. So just bear that in mind that, some backups may get corrupted. So having more than one version can obviously help. And then taking ownership of your data. So hosting backups are great, but having your own copies in a secure location gives you peace of mind. And I'm talking about, having in your Dropbox or in your Google Drive, just having, a month's worth of backups sat there secure ready for you at any point if you need them. Okay, so introducing UpdraftPlus. Now, user-friendly and reliable, easy to install and configure, even for beginners. I don't think you can get easier than this. It's as straightforward as it comes, and we'll walk you through how to set that up in a second. Supports cloud storage, so stores backups offsite in Google Drive, Dropbox, or other platforms to keep them secure. I think this is amazing because even worse than not having access to your backups is when backups are stored on your server. Now, some hosts will do that. It's terrible. You shouldn't do it. You should double check, make sure that you're not storing your backups on your server, because let's say the worst comes to worst, your server gets hacked, all the data gets destroyed. You've got no backups because they're on the same server as the website. You need to have them on an external platform. And I think something like, any of the cloud platforms like Google Drive or Dropbox are fantastic for this because they're totally separate, they're easy to retrieve, and then you can restore pretty quickly. Automated scheduling, so set up regular backups without manual intervention. So for this, I love UpdraftPlus because you can schedule how often you want the files to be backed up and how often you want the database to be backed up. So if you've got a website, a normal brochure website, which is, just a website that you don't add anything to regularly, then daily backups is probably fine. You just take a daily backup and then, if anything goes wrong, you've got a backup because nothing's changed in that day. But if you've got an e-commerce store or you've got a blog that you constantly are adding articles to, or new products, new customers are getting added to it, then taking the files probably once a day is probably enough. But then you might want to take the database every hour, every 30 minutes, whatever it is. But with UpdraftPlus, you can control that. You can dictate how often you want the automated scheduling to work and which parts of the website you want at different times. So that's good. Flexible retention settings. So choose how many copies to retain when you overwrite old backups. So for example, let's say you want to keep 28 days worth of backups. Then day 1, you'll store a backup, day 2, day 3. When you get to day 29, day 1 will delete. So you're constantly keeping a rolling 28 days of backups, and they'll automatically remove old ones if you want. That's a choice that you can make. Okay, so step-by-step installation and setup. We'll just run through this and then I'll show you exactly how to do it. So install UpdraftPlus. Go to plugins, add new in your WordPress dashboard, search for UpdraftPlus, install and activate. Easy. Set backup schedule, so configure automatic backups, e.g. daily or weekly to fit your needs, whatever you want. I suggest daily, but you can choose what you want. Choose storage location, select a cloud storage provider like Google Drive or Dropbox and authenticate your account. Literally, this is all done with one click, signing in, and then you're done. Run a manual backup, so test the setup by running a backup immediately to ensure it's working. And then restore backups, easily restore backups in case something goes wrong. Okay, so I think let's just show you how I would do that. Okay, so you should be inside your WordPress dashboard, and what you want to do is head over to plugins and then add new and then search for, like we said, UpdraftPlus. I'm pretty sure it's one word. There we go, UpdraftPlus. Okay, so make sure you don't go for any of these other ones. This is the one you want with this like U arrow in place. So click install. Wait for that, and then activate. And there we go, done. So you can just press start here to start, or you can go down to the bottom and you'll have UpdraftPlus here on the left-hand side, if you can see that. So let's just click here to start. Now you can see at the moment, this is like the default view. Okay, this is where you can see that there's nothing scheduled at the moment. So because we haven't configured it. So first of all, you can take your own backup. I don't think we'll do that because we haven't decided where we want that backup to go. All right, so let's close the prompts down. And then first thing we want to do is go to settings, okay? And here we can dictate how often we want backups to run. So at the moment, it's set to manual. Now for me, for this example, I'm going to say, right, I want the files, which is like your images, all the files for the website. I want this to run daily, and I want to retain 28 copies. So that's like a month's worth of hosting, all right? Now the database, I also want to run that daily. And for this, because it's a blog, I might want to run this every 2 hours. Okay. Actually, let's just keep it simple and let's go daily. You can dictate what you want, all right? Now, you can choose now where you want to save these backups. Now, obviously, depending on what services that you've got available to you will depend which one you want. Now, the Updraft Vault is you've got to pay for that. You have to pay them, they store it, and then you haven't got to worry about it. For me, I'm using Dropbox. Now, if you're using Google Drive, you just select Google Drive. But for this example, just so I can show you, and it's no real different, I'm going to select Dropbox. I want it to go to Dropbox. And then as I scroll down, I'll get some options here. So include in file backups. I want my plugins, I want my themes, and I want uploads. Okay, so they're the important directories that are specific to my website, because obviously the WordPress installation files, they're already there. You know, they're the same for everybody. You can download that from anywhere. These are the important files that are specific to my website. Now, if I want, I can exclude certain directories, and by default, UpdraftPlus will exclude any directories that indicate that it's probably storing a backup, because we don't want to back up a backup, because that just means that your backups become bigger and then you use up more storage. We're going to back up must use plugins. We're going to back up any other directories found inside the WP content, but we're going to exclude things like upgrade, because that's not important. That's when WordPress upgrades, cache, updraft, backups, MySQL debug. So these are things that you don't need. So by default, all of these settings will be fine. There's nothing that you need to do. Now, one thing I like to do, just so I know that these backups are working, is send myself an email. So what will happen is, whatever the admin email address is, so for me it's dan@wpodyssey.com at the moment, I'll get an email after it's run every day to let me know, right, your backup's run and it's completed. Once you've had these for a few days, you're going to get a bit annoyed with them, so you can disable this. But it's good to know at the start that this is working. So once I click Save Changes, what will happen now is it'll ask me to authenticate my Dropbox account. All right. So you have selected a remote storage option, which has an authorization step to complete. So all you do is click here. And then what it'll do is I'll have to log in. It's going to log, I'm already logged into Dropbox on my computer. So if I wasn't, I'd have to log into Dropbox, or in your case, if you're using Google Drive, you'd have to log into Google Drive. And then you just click Complete Setup. All right. So click Complete Setup. And look, I've had an error. This is quite common, okay? Now, this depends whether you've changed your admin URL or not. Now, for security reasons, it is recommended that you change your admin URL from the default WP-admin. And if you have, then you'll get an error like this, because it's trying to find the admin page on the default URL, and that's fine. So it's good that this happens so I can show you. If you haven't changed your admin URL, then what will happen is you'll just get put back in and it'll say completed properly, okay? So what I need to do now is I need to go back into the admin. I need to go to UpdraftPlus, and then you'll see now I've got this box here that says there's a problem, okay? It wasn't able to authenticate because of the URL, so I need to put an authentication code in. Now, to get that code, if you go to Settings, and I go to click Save again, I'll just do the authentication process again. And then what you'll see is, having problems authenticating. Yeah, I am, because it's not working. So when I click having problems authenticating, it'll then give me this code, and I just need to copy that key. I'll click Complete Setup again. I'll get the same error. Now I can go back into my admin, click UpdraftPlus, and I can paste that key in here. And that's it. All right. So that means that's authenticated my device, and we're all good. Okay. So what I'd like to do at this point is, because now it's showing this, it's showing green, that there's files and databases scheduled to run, and they're going to run tonight. Okay. Now for me, I want to make sure this is working now. So I'm going to run a manual backup now. So I'll click Backup now, and it'll ask me some of options. I will leave these by default. There's nothing to change here. These are all good. Backup now. Okay. Sometimes you get this error. If you get this error, click Cancel. Now, what the error said is we haven't actually picked a location. So if I go back to Settings, and that's all you got to do is click Save. And that's it. Okay, so now if we go back to the backup restore, so if that happens, you don't panic. It's just because you've just authenticated it. It could be because of the way that I did it. I had to manually add the key in. I had to go back to settings and save. You may not have to do that. But if you do, don't panic. Just go to settings, click save, and then you can click backup now and then backup now. Okay. And what it's doing is saying requesting the start of the backup, and you'll see this log showing you the backups is happening now. Okay. So I may speed this up because it might take a bit of time to show you, but I just want to show you it backing up. Okay, so there we go. The backup has finished. And now that we've taken a manual backup, you can see that it's, let me just move that out of the way, sorry. You can see that it's, I'll move me out of the way. You can see that it's now listed here. So we've got this backup, all right? Now, that's great. What do we do next? So now that we've got a backup, what will happen is these will schedule and they'll run every day, and you'll get an email to notify you that this has happened. So let's just quickly show you what we do next. So how to restore your website. So now you've got your backups. What happens if something goes wrong with your website? How do you restore it without panicking or worrying about how to do things? So okay, so one, you locate your backup files. We've shown you where that is. So access your backups via the UpdraftPlus Backup Restore tab in the WordPress dashboard. Choose the backup to restore. Select the relevant backup based on the date or the components you need, e.g. database, plugins, or themes. So if, for example, you've done an update of a load of plugins and it's broken your website, then you know the plugins are the problem. So you can restore the old plugins. If you've done something in the database, you've made some content changes and it's broken the website for whatever reason, then you can restore just the database, or you restore the whole thing because you don't know what's the problem. You just want to have an older version of your website. It was working this morning, it's not working now. I don't know why. Just restore the whole lot. Okay, so that's where you can choose how to do that. So you click restore. UpdraftPlus will allow you to restore individual components like the database only or the entire site. And then follow the prompt. So the plugin will guide you through the restoration process, showing a progress bar for transparency. And then all you got to do is verify your site. So after restoration, test your site to ensure everything is functioning correctly and that nothing is missing. Now, I think it might be a good idea just to show you. So let's just do this now. What I'll do is I'll go to posts, and let's say, I'm just making this up, okay? But let's say I delete this. Let's say I delete this post, okay? Actually, let's say I delete this post and this post. So you've deleted them, you can't find them, they're not there, they're not in the bin anymore, you've lost something, whatever the reason is, you now want to restore, okay? Because this website's not right. And you can see you've got 2 in the bin. Imagine they're not there, they've been deleted. We want to restore. Now, in this case, I only want to restore the database because these posts are in the database, okay? So what I would do is, let me just move me out of the way. I would come to the backup that I took earlier and I would click restore. And this is where I can choose which part of the backup I would like to restore. So I've picked this restore from earlier this morning, and I'm going to click database. I want to restore the database. So I click next. Just wait a second so you can see how this works. Click restore. And now it's just verifying. It's showing you the log of what it's doing. So it's verifying database, restoring tables. So it can see that, there's things missing compared to the database. So it's restoring them. And there we go. So depending on the size of your website will depend how long the restore process will take, okay? So restore successful, return to UpdraftPlus configuration. So we're back in our UpdraftPlus. Now let's go and have a look if our posts are there. There we go. So the posts that we deleted, they're no longer in the bin, they're here. All right. What is in the bin actually? Okay, nothing. So that's fine. They're all the old ones. So the 2 posts that we deleted have now been restored. They're back in play. Our website is as it was earlier. Now, if I want to go and check, make sure, I can go and view the website. Like we said, verify. And I can see that one of the ones that we delete was welcome. So let's have a look where that is. Welcome guide. and there we go. It's back on the website, it's live. We don't need to worry anymore. Our website's all good. So that's how you restore your website. Okay, so best practices. Let me just move me back down out of the way. Now, best practices for backup management. So store backups offline. Always keep copies on cloud platform or external devices to avoid relying solely on your host server. Because like we said earlier, if your server goes down or your server gets hacked and everything gets deleted, you not only lose your website, you lose all your backups. So you want to make sure that they're kept off server. Maintain multiple copies, so retain backups for 21 to 28 days to ensure you can recover from earlier issues. This is not a rule, but this is just what I do for my clients and for me. I keep multiple copies because the worst thing that you want to do is that, because some viruses or some vulnerabilities can stay dormant for more than 7 days and they'll just sit there doing nothing. They've compromised your website. They're in your website. You don't know it. Nobody knows it. But then after the 7 days have passed, it'll come on, take your website down, and then you've got no backups. And then next, test backups regularly. So check backups periodically to make sure they're complete and functional. So I do suggest this, even though you've got the backups running and you're confident they're running. If you're getting the emails to confirm that's happened, great. But even when you decide to disable those emails because you're getting them every day and they become quite annoying, then just log into your dashboard, just check, come here, just check. Okay, I can see the backups are there, brilliant. And you'll have a big long list of backups here eventually, 28 if you go for 28, but just make sure that they are there and that they're working. And then, use both full and incremental backups. So save full backups occasionally while relying on incremental backups for day-to-day changes. So we haven't covered that today. We've just told you to take full backups. I think it's easier for you to restore, but if you're short on space, so for example, if you've got a limited storage space with Dropbox or you're limited with Google Drive, you may want to do incremental backups. And what that means is it'll check what has changed since the last backup and only back up that. So that, over 28 days, you've got everything, but it's just in different pockets. Personally, I just go for full backups because I can just restore it easier doing it that way. So just to summarize what we've covered then. So backups are essential. We know that. Protect your site from hacks, data loss, or hosting issues. Use UpdraftPlus. For me, it's by far the best plugin that you can use. Automate backups, store them off-site, and ensure you're covered with reliable tools. Restoration is simple, so restore your site easily using UpdraftPlus, whether it's a full site recovery or specific components. And then best practices matter. So keep multiple backup copies, test regularly, and never rely solely on backups. And then just finally, stay in control. So take ownership of your backups to ensure your site's security and performance. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully now you can go off, set up your own backups and not worry about anything going wrong with your website. And at least you know how to set the backups up, where they are, and how to restore your website. So once again, hopefully if you found this video useful, you'll drop it a like. You can share it with someone that you think might need it. And obviously, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And it just shows me that, I'm doing something right. So any questions, drop them in the comments below. And we'll see you on the next one.